y'all? It's your host of Connecting the Dots podcast, Kymmy Coco, and we have been gone for a couple of weeks, so we have a lot to catch up on. So I am glad today to have my friend, Dontaye Carter of Carter Media Group.
Yes, what's going on? What's going on?
He is so heavily involved, guys, and I look forward to just having this basic, open, honest conversation about what's going on in Georgia with him because he is all over the place. So he's going to give me something to reference and bring hopefully some understanding to some of the things that are going on here in Georgia. As you know, okay, since we've last seen you guys, the election is over. We didn't know on election night who was going to win, and it would seem that we still wouldn't know because Trump and his people have been having states recount, Georgia being one of them. Georgia has gone through 3 recounts, and he is still contesting it. There's been a last-ditch effort by the state of Texas and 120 some odd state representatives from around the country who've gotten on board with this lawsuit. The Supreme Court tossed it away. He's just lost lawsuits back to back to back. So tomorrow, coincidentally, the electorate will meet, and Trump will not get the 16 electoral votes that belong to Georgia. Those will go to Joe Biden. So Joe Biden won Georgia. Georgia is blue. Congratulations, Georgia. After all we've gone through, what has your experience been like through all this?
It's been a lot.
It's just you have to laugh.
Yeah,
you have to laugh.
It's a lot. You know, I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that Georgia's a former slave state.
Yeah. Has
the second largest black population. You look at the census and the census for black people, I mean, you've probably got about, 55% of black families that actually participate in it. Yeah. So you really don't have an accurate number of how many of us there are in this country until something like an election pops up and we all show up to vote.
Absolutely. And what I noticed, too, is one of the things that Trump argued is that, you know, all of the polls were saying that I was in the lead, and, you know, that's how you know that this is rigged. But I'm not sure that black people are polled as often or as necessary as they need to be to get a good understanding as to the flood of black registered voters.
Yeah, when I see a poll come up, my first question is, where did you all do the polling? Because you're only polling a subgroup of a population.
Yeah.
And so where's this group coming from? You know, they could easily go up to North Fulton, Alpharetta, Roswell, and say, oh, we polled all these folks, and it says that Trump's going to win. Yeah, but everybody knows that North Fulton and South Fulton are vastly different in terms of population, in terms of politics.
Just like Cobb County.
Yeah, just like Cobb. So I think that the more and more that you start to dig deeper and you start to look at the numbers, I looked at the numbers, and, you know, one of the things that I've kind of been upset, especially with the media, about is this whole pinning black men against black women. I mean, when you look at the numbers, I mean, black men are outvoting their white male, Hispanic male. We outvoting all these other groups. You know what I'm saying? And so to pit us against one another, and it's just another divide and conquer tactic. Yeah. But we're outvoting all of our other subgroups. So, I mean, what are you saying?
Yeah,
I think black women are showing out. They're outvoting the women, and we're showing out. We're obviously not voting as high as black women are, but we're getting there. And the fact that we're outvoting our other male counterparts, I think that speaks a lot as well.
Yeah, I shout out to all the people that voted, period. Everybody, yeah. Georgia, we're having to go vote again tomorrow, early, which you guys not necessarily seeing this on the day, but early voting in Georgia starts on December 14th, so we'll say it that way. So make sure you vote early, and even absentee voting, which we see kind of saved us because Donald Trump only lost the election by like 12,000 votes. And most of the votes coming in late, those absentee ballots really pushed us over the edge.
Yeah, and I think a lot of his people just didn't do absentee ballots because
he told them not to.
Yeah, he told them not to. So I think Georgia's been shifting for a while in terms of politics. And I think this was the icing on the cake. I think this was a great initiative. There have been a lot of people like yourself that have really been great advocates of getting the word out, telling people why it's important to vote. And the state has spoken. You know, we got out, we showed out, and we did what we needed to do. I mean, I can't imagine another 4 years of Donald Trump.
I can't either. And the Republican Party, you know, we've been fighting them tooth and nail ever since Stacey Abrams lost the election. And if you've not really been paying much attention and just, you know, to what's going on, you see now how the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the governor, you see now with the pandemic playing out and how all this stuff, you're seeing how what everyone's role is in those situations and how they should take the leadership role and how the decisions they make affect you one way or another. Yeah. So now there's infighting within the Republican Party, which could play out well for the Democrats. Donald Trump goes on Twitter and he attacks our governor here in Georgia, Brian Kemp, all the time. And I mean, I just sit back and with my popcorn, like, wow, that's terrible. But yeah. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in January, based on the fact that they're kind of destroying themselves?
Yeah, I think once Donald Trump is evicted, I think you're going to see some other leaders within the Republican Party stand up, and they're going to try to get this ship on the right path, which is why going into January and February, I think Democrats, especially black people, minorities who've been disenfranchised and marginalized for so long, have got to do a better job of making sure that we're holding Joe Biden, we're holding the governor, we're holding the Secretary of State, all these people that make decisions that impact our lives on a daily basis. We need to hold them accountable. You know, I loved when Barack Obama went on to the Breakfast Club, and he said something that was so impactful. He said, a lot of people are frustrated about this police issue. He said, but the two people in the two positions that can immediately change that, he said it comes down to the mayor and the district attorney. Well, we got to start holding all these folks accountable. Yeah. It's imperative because we're talking about our children, we're talking about our grandchildren, and I mean this is an issue that you know Dr. King spoke about at the eulogy of Jimmy Lee Jackson when he was murdered or you could say assassinated by a Georgia State trooper. And I think people have got to realize, when I was in the Fulton County DA's office leading up their PR team, I remember sitting in a meeting with the DA at the time and him saying that the laws around policing had not been changed since 1940.
Wow. Jim Crow era.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here we are in 2020, still with the same
laws,
Jim
Crow laws.
Yeah, same laws on the books. And so we wonder why people are so mad over the summer. So many people are in the street. Well, they're in the street because y'all aren't changing these laws. These laws don't reflect the diversity that the U.S. is right now.
And you know what I'm starting to see? As much empathy, alleged empathy and sympathy people showed for the movement over the summer, they're using those same clips I'm seeing in some of these ads to kind of demonize the Democratic candidates for Senate. And I'm just like, wow, that's weird, because a few months ago, you guys were like totally understanding of why people were saying Black Lives Matter, why people were upset. And now you're using that against it. I just want people to pay attention to that and realize.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, and I tell a lot of folks this, you know, everybody's all about diversity and inclusion until you really have to give me or you a voice or our children a voice, you know, because once you open that door to give us a voice, that means you've opened up this door to some real change. And I mean, this real change is going to impact a lot of us, you know, including our really close and really close friends. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people aren't ready to have this real discussion.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, it's so crazy, but for my anniversary, my wife and I went to Savannah. We did a slave tour.
Really?
And it was so crazy, but I did not know that the average age of the enslaved Africans that came into Georgia, Savannah specifically, were between the ages of 11 and 14. So, you know, we see all these movies, and they've got all these grown people in chains and stuff when it was really children that they were transporting across the ocean. And, you know, the historian made the point of it was like that in most places. And it's very, explains why we weren't doing a whole bunch of fighting. I mean, these were kids they were bringing over.
Right.
Kids that were trafficked for labor, for entertainment, for sex, for all these things. And so I think when we start to peel back the layers, there's a level of accountability that I don't think a lot of people are truly ready for.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of guilt and a lot of shame that goes along with it, and that's the part that people don't want to face. But the thing about that is, if you don't face something, it just morphs into something worse, and then you have what we have now. I mean, we're not going anywhere, and we are entitled to just as much as everyone else who claims to be patriots.
Yeah.
You know, our ancestors fought and died for this country too. I say that all the time. I don't know why everyone always brings up, you know, their patriotism when it comes to issues that we want to have resolved. Like, okay, that's great. My dad, my granddad, my brother, my great grandfather. When I go on my ancestry thing, I'm like, everyone served in the military in some, as long as we've been able to.
Yeah. My family's been here since the 1600s.
Yeah.
Since the 1600s. Right.
So, I mean, I don't get that. So now here in Georgia, you know, wow, we got a Senate runoff that the whole world is watching because this is going to show who controls the Senate. I don't know if you watched the debate. Did you guys watch the debate? Did you watch the debate?
I watched bits and pieces of it.
So I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
The dog whistle politics that we've been shown over these last 4 years is just like so ridiculous. We get it. Okay, you're radical. We know what that means. You're a leftist. We know what that means. Like, as long as you say something about your injustice, then you're being radical. But I hope everyone remembers that they call Martin Luther King a radical too.
Oh yeah, he was radical.
He was like a communist. He was everything that
John Lewis was radical. You know, the same man that they want to hashtag good trouble right now was considered radical, you know?
The good trouble wasn't good trouble until after, you know, he was like knocked over the head and arrested. Then it was good trouble.
Well, I mean, and think about it, it didn't become good trouble till recently. You know what I'm saying? Like acceptable good trouble, you know? Back then they still, I mean, you still have people who, they have artifacts such as police batons in their home where their fathers and their grandparents beat Dr. King and all these other folks over the head with these
Not too long
weapons.
ago, I want to say in DeKalb County, they found a Ku Klux Klan uniform in somebody's closet. Yeah,
I mean, so it hasn't, and you know, it's so funny because, so a friend of mine, she's from Germany, and we were talking about voting and getting engaged, but one of the things that I wanted to talk to her about is, how did Germany move forward after the Holocaust?
Right, yeah. Did she talk to you about that?
Yeah, and it was a great discussion because what she said is, she said in Germany they educated people in a way where they addressed the bias without forcing them into hiding. And she said the problem in America is y'all have criticized racism to a point where the racists just go into hiding. They go into their little circles, and they're racist in their little circles, and they just pretend to not be racist in public. But that doesn't heal anything. No. You know, as Jay-Z said, you'll never heal what you don't reveal. And so I think that we've got to get to a place where we've got to really start educating people on what racism is and what it's done to destroy this country, because this country's rotting away. It's rotting away at its core.
Yeah, because at this point, not only do I not see a recovery for the Republican Party, I don't know what direction they're going to go in. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do either, but I see their reputation to be more salvageable.
Yeah. Well, I think that people have got to get to the point where we stop looking at this thing. So we wrap so many things into what America is, right? You got the picture of white Jesus that is America. You know, you wrap the flag in policing and all these things, and so you can't speak out about any injustice without somebody saying, "Oh, you can't talk about our police. We back the blue." You know, blue lives matter. Well, blue lives can't matter because blue is not a race of people.
It's not a race, right?
You know,
I mean, take your uniform off when you get home, then you're not.
I can't take the skin off.
Right.
You know, I'm black everywhere I go.
So some of these issues are going to roll into the Senate race.
Yeah.
Do you think in particular that the two candidates in the Democratic Party are addressing the issues enough to get people motivated to come out like they did for the presidential election?
I think they're still tiptoeing around a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I think people are at a place. I think what a lot of politicians, especially on the Democratic side, have failed to see is how Donald Trump changed politics.
Yeah, he
people
really
don't
did.
want the flowery talk. They want to know what you were going to do to effectively change things. He told folks that he was going to build a wall, and he signed an executive order to build a wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, I have so much admiration for former President Barack Obama, but it's like, I think he kind of played down the middle a little too much.
Yeah, people wanted him to be more like Trump. In what I mean by that is they wanted him to be stronger on issues that mattered to black people.
Yeah, I mean he's doing it now, but I think I wish there's a desire in me that would have wanted to see him do that while he was in office, because you know, I mean, while he was in office, I mean, it was what, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. It was these things were all still happening. And we could have done more to address it. He came up with the 21st Century Policing Initiative, which at its core, I mean, and I loved it. I mean, he got the brightest minds in policing, in the community, in therapy, all these different areas to say, how do we fix this? And what they came up with, one of their top rules was, guess what? If the laws that you are policing aren't held in high esteem and value in the community, you can't police the community, because their values and the things that you're trying to enforce don't match up.
Right.
And I think that when you put something that fundamental together, sign an executive order to get that passed. Don't say we're going to put this on the police departments to change, because I mean the reality is I'm never going to see anything wrong with what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
of course, no one does.
You've got to sign
does.
that into executive order and say that, look, this is about ensuring that all of the American citizens are protected. I mean, what this comes down to is either black people are U.S. citizens or they're not. Like, period.
Well, I saw that in that rhetoric going on a lot with this election, where I heard a lot of people saying, you know, illegal votes. We're going to count these illegal votes. Where are these votes coming from? And it's kind of like, black people, hello, we voted, we're out here, you know, you guys don't poll us, you don't ask us any questions, and then when the election turns out to be overwhelmingly in our favor, you're like, how did this happen? You cannot continue to ignore us. We will be heard.
Yeah.
Either, I mean, none of these candidates in the Republican Party are appealing to any black people in a way that black people can relate to. They don't reach out I've never seen a Kelly Loeffler go on any black media to do any interviews, or David Perdue. I don't see them doing that at all.
But I mean, and the question you have, so you have the why, right? You understand that they're not doing this why. Why? Well, the why is because we want justice. You know, and the justice we seek is going to make a lot of their base uncomfortable, and that's what it comes down to. But I mean, at the end of the day, this comes down to humanity and the value of life.
Period. That's what it is. Yeah.
You know, I had to get some folks together. You know, like they say, oh, you're being political. No, this isn't political. This is the value of life. And if you can understand this is about the value of life, then you can kick rocks. Like, that's it.
It literally came down to that, and I just couldn't believe, like, at the 11th hour, there were so many people that were undecided, when you were seeing that literally it was coming down to life or death, literally coming down to whether people were going to be able to get a stimulus check, which could help them live and eat for another 30 days or not. I mean, like, politics aside, it came down to morality at the end of the day. And it was right versus wrong. I mean, we can build on and talk about the other things after this, but we have to get to a certain point where you get somebody to negotiate with. You cannot negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. And it's crazy. The fact that the state can foot a $50 million bill to count these votes 3 times.
We're paying for that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we got people who are on the verge of losing their homes. They're hungry. They've lost their jobs. You know what I'm saying? We've got the highest utility rates, or some of the highest utility rates in the country. Even in the Public Service Commission,
we're voting for that too.
Yeah, which is Daniel Blackmond's up for. He's been speaking a lot of that.
He was
about
here.
These
he was on the show twice, and we talked about that with him. And you know, even though he's probably not have as many commercials, you don't see that being on television or on radio as much as the other races, but that's a really important race, and people need to pay attention to that one too.
Oh, most definitely.
There's only 3. I mean, when you get your ballot, you're only going to have 3 options.
Yeah. And I think that folks have got to understand, with Kelly Loeffler, I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer when it comes to her and Reverend Raphael Warnock. Yeah. Because, I mean, her own employees are wearing the Vote Warnock shirts.
And that's
when they step on
the Dream,
Atlanta Dream team. And so I think that it says a lot about who she is as a person, and I think that we've got to get folks in there that understand that there's a lot of diversity in this country. It can't just be your neighborhood and the folks that you associate with. Like there are folks on the south side that are hurting. There are folks on the north side. I was at a food and toy drive with the Fulton County Democratic Party yesterday in Alpharetta. I can't tell you how many people are showing up to donate, to drop things off. And they said that they were, at one point they had I guess it was 60 people a day that were coming up asking for food. They've jumped up to 100. This is in North Fulton where everybody's like, oh, they've got all this money up there. If they're hurting in that way up there.
Imagine.
You see what I'm saying?
And because of the leadership that we have, usually when there's a crisis, there's more said about it. There's more, you see the government, even if they don't do anything, which, I remember I'm Gen X, so I grew up in the Reagan and the Bush era, and I know gaslighting, but at least they pretended to care, right? You would see an ad save this group or save that group, or they're raising money for this. We don't even see that anymore. We don't see the impact of COVID. We don't see the economic impact because he doesn't want us to, because it's on his watch. Yeah. And it's going to look bad on him. And just the vanity of it all. It's just, I'm glad it's over. So maybe now we can get to the bottom of it. That lawsuit that we were talking about earlier that Texas brought, these are the representatives in Georgia that jumped on board with that. So remember that when it's time for the election. Yeah. Representative Rick Allen, the 12th Congressional District of Georgia. Representative Austin Scott, the 8th Congressional District. Representative Buddy Carter, 1st Congressional District of Georgia. And Representative Drew Ferguson, the 3rd Congressional District of Georgia. And coincidentally, some of those districts, namely the 1st Congressional District and the 8th Congressional District, the COVID is so bad in those areas. That's what's bringing the Georgia's numbers up. I don't know how those representatives had time to get involved with the Secretary of State of Texas and Ted Cruz and their foolishness. I don't know. Their constituency is suffering. They're dying. And they're up there with this foolishness. So,
but while they were filing this lawsuit about Georgia, there was a caravan from San Antonio, from the Bay County Democratic.
San Antonio, Texas?
Yeah,
okay.
They're from their Democrats, and they drove 19 hours to get here on Saturday, where they had handwritten postcards for printing, for postage, all this stuff, went over $1 million. And it was so funny. I was talking to the guy. He said, yeah, man, I had this $1 million shipment I had to get to Georgia to encourage y'all to vote, And,
people from all over the country are like, Georgia, please vote.
But I mean, to get in the car and drive 19 hours on a whim.
Wow.
He lost the contact for the person here. He was like, man, if I can just hit the ground, I can get this stuff to the right people. He got it to us. And I mean, that just says a lot.
And what was it?
They had postcards handwritten to mail out, and they had paid for the postage and everything.
You've been getting them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
probably 4 or 5 handwritten notes with my name.
From all over the country.
I don't know about from all over the country, but it's people that's running in this election.
Yeah, I mean, but they came here from San Antonio. They picked up letters in Houston. I mean, they went to Dallas. They hit up all these spots, and then they jumped 19 hours on the road to come here. And, I mean, all eyes are on Georgia right now. And, Georgia, I think people forget that Georgia was crucial in the Southern strategy. It's always been a state that people have used to swing these elections. They've never really looked at Georgia as a swing state because the Republican Party has had their teeth sucked into this state. But, man, the numbers are here. 32% of this state is black. 32%. 20% of the state is Hispanic. That's 52% of the state, right? The population of the state right there, which lets you know that white people are not the majority of this state. You know what I'm saying? It's a minority majority state.
But I know that their people know this. Why? What is it that would make them continue? I've seen, because of the election, Brad Raffensperger, who is our Secretary of State, and his junior Secretary of State, and they've been coming out saying, look, we've done all we can do. I did my job. We've done all the counting. We checked all the signatures. This whole thing is a farce, and they had to come out against their own party. When you see them doing that, and the people that are a part of this weird part of the Republican Party continue to ignore them. But you still hear these guys saying they voted for him. I'm like, what? Yeah. So you mean to tell me Brad Raffensperger and the other guy with the glasses, I can't remember his name, but he's his employee. He's the one that came out and said, you know, these people are outside of our homes. He acted like he was scared. But in the next breath, he said, but I voted for him. Like, why would you guys keep supporting the people that are threatening your lives and standing outside your homes? It is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but, you know, it's funny because at the end of the day, right, these folks, some of these folks are lawyers too, right? So, like, our Secretary of State, he's a lawyer. He has a bar license. He cannot go on TV and lie. He can't play the games.
But that's not stopping Rudy Giuliani. That's not stopping any of Trump's lawyers. He absolutely can
Let me tell you something. Trump and Rudy Giuliani are going to prison once Trump is out of office. The only thing that's protected Trump has been the fact that you cannot indict a sitting president.
And he's still named in the indictment as individual number one, and the rest of his participation in it has been redacted, so we don't know that's who they're talking about. But we still, as a country, because Biden has not made it a priority, or at least he's not saying that it's a priority to convict Donald Trump. So I don't know if he will. But if he wants to restore any faith in our system, he has to.
Yeah, I mean, his own Supreme Court. How many people did he put on the Supreme Court that told him no? That told him they don't agree with him?
And not only the ones that he appointed to the Supreme Court, the ones that he appointed to the state courts.
They all said the same thing.
They all said the same thing.
There's no facts. At the end of the day, Donald Trump can say whatever he wants on any camera, anywhere around the world. But when you step into a court of law, this is still a land of laws. You know what I'm saying?
And he allegedly is the law and order guy, right? That's what he said.
Allegedly.
That's what he says all the time.
Allegedly. But yeah, you know, allegedly. I mean, but you know, this is also the guy that said that the Central Park Five boys, the exonerated five, should receive the death penalty.
And I mean, he's put more people to death in his way out than has been put to death since 1940.
Yeah. I mean,
does anyone not see the what is going on? What is going on that no one sees the contradiction? And he's got such a hold on evangelicals. And there's so much, like, how do they? And
we've been hitting evangelicals too. We've been hitting them too. Here's the thing. This is on us, as black, as brown, as minorities, as immigrants. It's on us to push back. The president is elected by the people. The people spoke, and across the state, this dude lost by more than 7 million votes. Joe Biden had the largest number of votes
ever,
and he beat an incumbent.
Yeah.
Second place was Donald Trump. Donald Trump, you brought out everything that you could bring out, and we sent you home. Like, at the end of the day, this is about equity, it's about equality, it's about justice, and it's about ensuring that the humanity of the American people is seen. And we're going to ensure that that's seen. We're going to continue to get out. We're going to continue to push this vote. And guess what? January 1st, he better be out of there.
January 20th?
No, I want him out January 1st.
January 20th
I want him out
is the inauguration.
I want him
January
out New Year's Day.
January 5th is when we find out who's going to control January 6th is when we find out who's going to control the Senate. Tomorrow, which is December 14th, depending on what day. Also, Georgia's 16 Democratic electors. Nikema Williams is one of them. Guess who else is one of them?
Who else?
Stacey Abrams. Minority Leader Bob Trammell. Minority Leader Steve Henson. Calvin Smyer. Wendy Davis. Savannah Mayor Van Johnson. These are all the people that are going to give the 16, well, there's more of them, but you can read about that. I saw this in an article on the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But it's just the irony of it all, how at the end of the day, these are the people that are going to decide who does it. I think we should abolish the whole electoral college thing, but until then, I'm glad to know that in Georgia, we're in good hands with our 16 electorates.
Yeah. But, you know, I think the reality is, you know, until they decide to change these laws, We just got to continue to turn people out. We got to continue to keep the issue isn't voter registration. The issue is voter engagement.
And I like voter engagement, and I like voter education.
Yeah, but how do you keep people engaged?
We try to do it every week, but other than that, we have to try to make that be a part of every conversation that you have without being pushy and without being like, politicky. It's hard, but you have to just talk to people in a way that they understand that it's going to influence them. You have to come to them from a place of, oh, you like this? Well, they're going to take that away if you don't do this. Yeah. And I think that's how we get more people involved.
Yeah, and also making sure that our politicians that we put in office do what they say they're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when you don't do it, we're coming to your house. We're going to be out there protesting and screaming and marching. Yeah. Make sure you are participating so you have a vested interest in your protest. Don't just be protesting to be protesting. Don't just be the person that is out there. Show up at the polls. Yeah, show up at the polls. So you have now a vested interest. Yeah. I was surprised that we didn't see more people come out and say, and I'm like, well, maybe they're waiting for people to absolutely say that they're considering throwing some of these votes away, because they were literally, that's what Trump was essentially asking people to do, throw the votes away of the people that were legally voting. It's illegal to you because you paid no attention to us. So now they're illegal. I just didn't get that. So,
but I mean, even so, all these people, right? First of all, on his list of alleged illegal votes, he had duplicates of names. I mean, if
all that stuff
to add up the count.
Even the whatever it is that you draw up when you're suing somebody, the name of that.
The lawsuit.
Duh.
No, you're fine.
The lawsuit, it had misspellings in it. It had grammatical errors in it. Everything that this guy was presenting was so laughable, but these people are taking it so seriously, and I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. It's terrible, and I hope that this has awakened the consciousness of the vast majority of people, because
I hope so too. I think it has. I think that people are starting to see that all the stuff that we've been talking about come together and see how it's affecting them, because this Senate race has gotten national. Everybody's coming here. Andrew Yang moved here. People are coming from everywhere to help out with these candidates. So how is everything going on the civil rights front? I know that you're a part of the leadership here as far as when it's time to organize and find out some information to hold these police officers accountable. Yeah. One thing, one in particular case I wanted to talk about was the Truitt case out of Cobb County, and how the police there have refused to release the tape. Is that still going on?
Yeah, and it's sad, but that's a big reason of why Joyette Holmes got voted out of office in Cobb County, is because people want accountability. A lot of I think we had three county commissioners who were also voted out. People want accountability. You just can't shoot our kids and then say, well, it's still under investigation 153 days later. No,
what's going on?
So what we're looking at is, in the middle of COVID, Vince, 17-year-old kid, senior year, he's not at school. He's staying the night over at his grandmother's house. One of his friends comes over, picks him up, and the friend picks him up in a stolen car. So they're out joyriding. Police jump behind them. Vince and the other boy were not around when this car was stolen. They were just 17-year-olds hanging out. You know what I'm saying? And they're going out joyriding, and police pull a pit maneuver on the car, cause the car to stop. The driver jumps out. Vince jumps out behind him. Never pointed a gun at police. Nothing.
They just shot him.
Cop didn't say freeze, stop, follow my commands. Didn't give him any kind of orders. Vince jumps out the car and runs, and as he's running away, the cop shoots him. And his last words before kind of passing out there on the street was like, "Why'd you shoot me?
But
Why'd you shoot me?"
Where'd they get this from?
It's in the video.
But
so
they're
the parents
not
have
showing
seen,
the video.
They won't
to the
show
public.
it publicly.
Oh my!
They won't show it public. I mean, and this happened right.
Around the time
of Atlanta was burning at the time,
and that's why they didn't release it.
And so I think what they've got to realize, what police and what our lawmakers have to understand is there's a different level of accountability right now. We're not. It doesn't go with you show it to us when you're ready to show it to us. No, you speed up these investigations. You do it accurately. If you can get on TV and make press statements, because this police chief lied numerous times. First, he got out and said that. First, he stepped in front of the camera and said Vincent Truitt jumped out of the car with a gun shooting at police, so they had to shoot him. That was the first lie. Second lie was, okay, well, he didn't shoot, but he came out pointing a gun. Like, at no point did he ever come out and say, you know what, the information that I received was inaccurate.
Okay. Yeah, he was just adamant that.
He was adamant that Vince had a gun. Nowhere in the video can you see this boy with a gun in his hand. Nowhere. And it's so funny because this issue it was such a bad shooting that it's creating tension within the Cobb County Police Department between officers. And for you to sit back and see this case creating tension within your own department and still refuse to make a decision that's not only going to unify your department but unify this community, because at the end of the day, it's either this young boy had a gun or he didn't have a gun. Period. And then two is, guess what? When has anybody been found not guilty for shooting somebody in the back?
Only when it's a cop.
But what I'm saying, not even cops can shoot somebody in the back. But the public doesn't know this stuff. They've got guidelines to how they can shoot, when they can shoot. You can't, once somebody, and the Supreme Court has spoken on this, once somebody, even if that person, because remember Laquan McDonald in Chicago, he had a knife in his hand, and he turned away from police and started walking away, and the court said, guess what?
Your life is no longer being threatened at that point.
It's no longer being threatened. So the fact that you shot this kid running away from you, like there's no justification for it.
For any of them.
But you've named this boy as a thug. You've tried to slander his name, but you still haven't released the name of the officer that pulled the trigger on him.
Wow. Yeah.
And he's still working in the homicide division, allegedly.
Cobb County has come a long way, but obviously Cobb County still has a long way to go. We need to vote and also hold people accountable. I'm not going to hold you up because I know that you have to go. I really appreciate you standing here with me today and talking to me, because there's so much to go on. One last thing, the vaccine's coming out next week. To each state, they're going to get it divvied out. Do you think people are going to take it? I'm going to say this. The FDA and the CDC have totally lost their credibility with me because they decided to side with Trump on so many aspects during this whole thing, and we were still trying to figure out what the truth was. They left us all to do our own research and make our own plans. So they're going to have a long way to go if they want to suggest I do something like take a vaccine. Yeah. I'll start there. But what do you think?
So my wife's a doctor. She was getting the CDC reports before Trump stopped him, and the advice that she had given me is wait until they get a better idea on what the side effects are. So maybe that later batch. And so her being a medical physician, with her being barred in her industry, I'm more likely to lean on her advice than a president who's lied to us
several times, and who's gotten therapy and has access to the best therapeutics that are out. Now.
And the reality is we don't know what the side effects are.
Well, we do know that the people in the UK that have gotten it, 2 people have reportedly had side effects, and the reason why the FDA didn't approve it right away was because they started to, one person that was deciding whether or not to approve the drug or the vaccine said that it may not be well for kids. So now they're only giving it to people over the age of 16. The 2 people in London that got it that had side effects had food allergies. So they're saying if you have any type of allergy, then you're probably not a good candidate. And this is only for the Pfizer vaccine. Yeah. Moderna vaccine is scheduled to be approved this week coming up. But they both use the same technology. So, I would assume that they would both have the same side effects, and they both have a 2-dose. You have to get 2 of them. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm with you. I think after people get it, we'll see from there. But right now, and then there's another one, AstraZeneca. Because theirs is based on science. Well, they're all based on science, but theirs is based they worked with a college to develop their vaccine. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. We still got a long tunnel to go through, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. Gosh, I mean, before life is normal, we're talking about 2022 at the earliest.
We're talking about 250,000 more deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, we
that's
gotta.
sad.
It's sad. We gotta be careful, y'all. We gotta be careful. I mean, there's the people that they didn't want to wear a mask. Okay, you didn't want to social distance. Okay, you're at the bar, you're at the club. You don't want to do any of that. Hopefully, those are the first people that are gonna volunteer to get the vaccine, because what are you willing to do? We all have to do something.
Yeah. I just think, this was a disaster from the beginning.
Absolutely. But look, it was bound to be a disaster, because you can't throw something like a pandemic on a country that has no efficient leadership.
Yeah. And I mean, Obama's team knew it was coming. They
left the playbook.
A whole playbook.
And Obama said, I don't know where it's at. He probably using it to prop up the coffee table somewhere. That's what Obama said.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that the leadership prior to you told you this is coming down the wire, and you still failed to act in a way that protected. I mean, these deaths are on his hands.
This is a preventable disease.
Very preventable. And I mean, think about it. Like, and this is another thing that frustrates me. So one of my friends, she lives in Canada, right? So Canada's numbers have gone down, all this stuff, and people are like, well, Canada's a smaller country. But look, if you make it convenient for people to social distance, however you do it, like she said, they had to stay home. They didn't want them going to work. They could only come outside during certain times a day. But they gave them 80% of their income, right? The government made sure that they got 80% of their income. The government made sure that they waived utilities, waived mortgage, waived rent. Like, you got to make it convenient for people to stay home.
Yeah, because the essential workers are the ones that got screwed out of this whole thing.
But that's my whole thing. You got to.
That's what I keep saying. Like, it's cool to say shut down everything.
But what are you doing?
Especially in Atlanta. You got to think about Atlanta. A lot of people in Atlanta are entrepreneurs, so they don't have a paycheck to where they can just sit at home and work. So it's just like, if you're not providing money, we're going to have to get out here and, at the end of the day, risk our lives. Yeah. So I think that falls on the government as well.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the reality is what is a government if you don't have any citizens to protect? Like, if we all dead, what are you?
But I think since they saying it's supposed to be a shutdown again, they should know how to handle that. If they want people to sit down for a month, 2 months, they need to put they don't have to send the money. Just cut rent, cut those bills out the way, because at the end of the day, those people are getting behind. Yeah. And when everything gets back, now those bills are piled up on people. And you're still in the same situation.
And the killer part is the thing that's holding up this stimulus, or lack thereof, the $1,200 part of the stimulus. The thing that's holding that up is Mitch McConnell doesn't want companies to be held liable for bringing their employees back and not being prepared, or not being able to sue them. So say you work at a company, they don't have any PPP, they don't have any way for you to social distance, but you go to work and you get COVID. Well, the part of the bill is they want companies to not be liable for that. So you wouldn't be able to sue your company for bringing you there with unsafe conditions, which the Democrats are saying they're not going for that, because you should want to protect we know they don't care. We're in a country that is like, it's all about the money, but they don't. They will send you to work. They will send you to work without it being safe.
But I think in America we have demonified the word socialist, but we got to be honest, right? What is capitalism without elements of socialism embedded within? And I bring that point up is capitalism doesn't work if you're not taking care of the people, right? The only way that people are spending money and money is changing hands is if people can work together, right? But if those people aren't being taken care of, well, it slows down that wheel that should be spinning at a decent rate.
And then you get, as a result of that, crime. Yeah. And then, then you're complaining about how, Atlanta, the crime. Okay, well, you're not giving anybody any money.
Yeah. But and I think what people fail to realize, right? So think about at the end of World War II, right? When all these men came back here, right? All the women had taken their jobs, were working in factories, were doing all this. Yeah. What did they do to these men? Vastly majority white men that came back from fighting overseas in World War II. What did they do? They created the GI Bill for them.
Yeah, they gave them homes.
Why? because they had to give these men something. If you don't take care of the people, this thing is going to crash. Why do you think all these governments around the world got universal health care and all these? Because they understand they have to take care of people. And if you're not taking care of people, where is this thing going?
I think people just need to never lose the fact in your mind that the government is working for you.
Yeah.
I think people get disillusioned and they get like, oh my God, the government, like it's just some secret society. No, you are very much involved in it.
And they work for you.
And they absolutely work for you.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that too is like, I mean, they talking about $1,200 stimulus check. We all know $1,200 ain't gonna do nothing.
That's like that's like a month of rent in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That'll give you 30 days and you're not eating, you don't have no electricity. That's just to have somewhere to live.
And that just depends on where you live in Atlanta. Because some of these other folks, I mean, some of these areas are so gentrified that rent, everything's being jacked up. You know what I'm saying? So what is that covering? And we gave what was it, $3 billion to all these big corporations knowing that money doesn't, money does not trickle down. It trickles up. So if you're not lifting people up, the money is not circulating the way it should be. And I mean, you got to stimulate the economy. Our economy is not backed by gold. It's backed by the perception that we're a strong company, strong country.
If you pay attention, that's how the stock market works.
Yeah. And so, but if we don't have the perception that we're a strong economic country, what do we have left? Because right now,
it's all perception.
Yeah.
But you see how broke we really are, because after 30 days in March when they shut down, so many companies went under just from that first lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's like, how rich are we really? We just let the whole world know we really ain't got it like that.
Which is why countries around the world, after all the racial injustice stuff popped up, they all said, we are stepping back. Like, we stepping back. Y'all need to fix this.
Because who invests in mess?
Nobody. Nobody. I can get my cotton from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I can get my gold.
I'll get my pears and my oranges. I don't need to mess with you, Florida. Yeah. We'll go somewhere else.
But that's what I'm saying. So, like, we again, if you're not taking care of people, this is the mess we're going to be in. And right now, the world is watching us. They want to know what we're going to do.
I hope you guys remember this when it's time to vote.
Yeah.
Because Georgia, they're not going to pass it. The Republicans are going to be so salty that Trump lost this election and that their little coup de grace did not go through.
And they're going to come hard.
They're going to come hard, and they're not going to pass a damn thing. And they don't give a damn about you. If this COVID didn't show you anything, is that they really don't care. Mitch McConnell has some blood on his hands.
But, I mean, and this is what people got to realize. When we talk about the history of America, when we talk about racism in America, we got to remember, right, we had a perfectly good candidate that was up against Donald Trump the first time, right? Hillary.
Yeah.
Perfectly good. I mean, she may not have been the best option, but compared to the mess we got right now,
right?
How many white women voted against her?
A lot.
A lot. But so when we talk about racism and how deep that stuff is, like the fact that a lot of people felt like they could not go from a black man being president to a white woman being president. That's how ingrained this stuff is in our country. That's literally what we are up against.
I mean, because besides the racism, we have the sexism, right? And some people are still intimidated by seeing women in leadership. And that's why the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden ticket was so
crucial.
I think the root, just listening to that, like the root of all this, even with the coronavirus, is that people, they just used to what what's normal. Like you just said, they weren't ready for a black president, a black male president, and then a white woman. They're not ready to wear masks because that's not what we're used to doing, and that's why we're spoiled, and it's like, man, that's why we're having this problem. That's why we're having this problem.
In the spirit of freedom, being able to do.
You're violating my rights by forcing me to wear a mask.
You're violating my rights by making me. And listen.
And I think it's the messenger, because if the government would have never got into this and it was just the doctors telling us to do this, we would have did it, because we go to the doctor any other time and seek that medical advice. But again, it's the person, and that's why I always say, in any debate, one of the biggest lessons I ever learned was to separate the people from the problem.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump is the messenger, but the problem is this, you're able to separate that. Just because he might be saying the right shit, he might be saying the wrong shit, but you able to take out what's right and get to the root of it without mixing your emotions into this person.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the problem is right now. I think our problem is all emotional.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, because we know what's right. We know what's right. We know it makes sense to wear a mask to protect the country. We know we want to live this life that we're used to. Yeah. We know what it takes to do that, but for some reason we're not doing that. And that's just because that's a pride thing. Oh, I'm a Republican and the Democrat said this. I'm not doing that. That doesn't make sense.
That's what was blowing my mind about Brad Raffensperger and that other guy. Like, yeah, we get it. You're a Republican, but these people are the ones outside your house trying to kill you, and you got the nerve to be talking about you're voting for these people that keep calling the left radical.
Yeah. But that's why I said it comes down to the value of life. And, back to your point, it was like, that was one of the questions that I asked my wife. Like, why don't we got more doctors getting out? And her thing was like, well, doctors not used to issues being political.
Yeah, it's not their thing.
They come in and look, this is what you got to do to get better. You can either do what I say or move. And Trump has had the best doctors telling him what, and they've gone ahead and they've politicized this thing. I was watching one newscast and they had a woman on there and she said, oh my goodness, I mean, everybody cried when they heard George Floyd say that he can't breathe, but you want me to wear a mask, and I'm telling you that. And I said, did she really
can't breathe. Yeah,
did she really say that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you want to be so right, but you're so wrong.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was at a hearing in one city in one state where they were protesting having to wear masks and the shutdowns, and they were saying, that they shouldn't have to wear masks because they can't breathe, like George Floyd couldn't breathe. Which, anyway, this has been debunked months ago when they first did the mask thing, and they showed you that your oxygen levels are not going down at all with your mask on. So don't think that. We can hear you, so you don't need to pull it down. If you're talking to me, I hear you. Another thing about the vaccines, relax, everybody. I've been seeing so many things floating around the internet. People are up in arms. You guys are ready to hit the street about they're not going to make you first of all, they don't even have enough for the people they need it for, okay? Yeah. They don't have enough for the people that want it. And what you don't want to happen is it to be an elitist issue where only they can get it when you finally snap to it and realize you might want to get it. Yeah. And, don't do that because they're not going to make you get it, y'all. Yeah. They would have to pass a law in which we don't think that the Biden-Harris, they're going to understand that we're skeptical because of the previous administration. And I don't want you guys to think, oh my God, you're not going to make me, and start spreading all this misinformation. Like, not agreeing with something is fine, but if you don't agree with it, just don't agree with it. You don't have to spread the misinformation because guess what, anti-vaxxers? The more people that get the vaccine, the less people will need the vaccine. That's how that works. If you get it and enough of you guys get it where we reach herd immunity, guess what? I don't have to get it because we've reached herd immunity without me getting it. So let the people that want to get it. Don't be on the internet telling everybody, oh, don't get it, because that's a personal decision. Please don't politicize this. Let everybody, it's a personal decision, just like the flu vaccine or being a vegan or all that stuff. That is a personal decision. Yeah.
And I think that's just what people gotta understand. It's a person. Just like it was my personal decision to vote against Donald Trump,
Okay. Yeah, and it was you, whoever, you do what you gotta do for you. Yeah. All right, Dontaye, I'm gonna let you go because I'll sit you here and we'll be talking forever. I had fun. Feel free to come back and keep us posted. Dontaye is involved in everything, any action you want to know that's going on in Atlanta as far as social, political issues. He's involved, the voting, anything. Follow him. Tell everyone how they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's the letter P, the letter R _ Carter03. And I'm on Twitter at Dontaye Carter. That's DONTAYE, last name Carter. And on Facebook and TikTok.
Are you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. I ain't dancing on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok.
I don't have that. Do you have TikTok? Oh, okay, I'm not the only one. All right, Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at CTD_ATL. Give us your opinion. Give us your thoughts. Usually I post articles and stuff like that just because I'm trying to see what you guys think so we can talk about it. And I'll post a piece of it on Instagram. And then you can like our page on Facebook, Connecting the Dots. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and anywhere you listen to your podcast. And I know that there's a few Connecting the Dots podcasts, y'all, but ours And we're gonna update you guys soon on some updates coming. But right now, if you look, it's the red, black, and white connecting the dots logo. And if you look, you'll see it on Facebook. All right, y'all. Enough. We will talk to you. Make sure you register to vote. Atlanta, Georgia, all over Georgia. Vote, 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 vote,
Stand
vote, vote,
up.
vote, 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 vote. All right, guys. Peace.